What up? What up? Happy Monday. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend full of grid action. And to all the dads out there, hope you had a great Father's Day. Hopefully you got to relax on the couch with a nice frosty beverage of your choice. And maybe you are the type that wants to go cut the lawn or do those dad things that you always want to do. You just don't have the time to do it. Hopefully you had the day to do those things. But this is the Grit and Grind Show. I'm Daniel Ball, and we are starting this week off hot. We got Josh and Shay Newell of the 2-0 Palm Beach Breakers joining us. They're going to talk about this weekend. A lot of good things to talk about. I got a couple things that I got to ask them about. You know, a little messy. I'll say that, a little messy on the start of the match, but we'll get into all that and all things of that happened this weekend with the league. But you know what I got to do? I got to pay the bills. Got to plug the sponsors. The Grit and Grind Show is brought to you by the Mental Game Performance Coaching. If nerves, pressure, or overthinking are stealing your game day success, the Mental Game helps athletes turn practice into performance when it matters the most. Beat the nerves, own the moment. Book your free game planning session now at tmgperformancecoaching.com. Jesus One Apparel, empowering men, women, and children to follow and live the message of John 16:33. Jesus won and continues to win each and every day. Chinook Seeds, whether you're on the field or in the boardroom signing deals, Chinook helps you get the job done. 8 flavors, mild to wild. Go to your local gas station, grocery store, convenience store. Pick up the best sunflower seeds in the game. Hopefully you were able to watch some College World Series action in the midst of all the Grid League action, because there were some hot games out there. And hopefully, if you're watching baseball, you better be enjoying it with those sunflower seeds from Chinook. And finally, Old Dominick Distillery. Experience 150 years of tradition in the heart of downtown Memphis. From bourbon to vodka, whiskey to gin, Old Dominick's got you covered. Stop in today for a tour or to pick up your favorite bottle. You can go online at olddominickdistillery.com. You can pick up anything of their arsenal: bourbon, vodka, whiskey, gin, shirts, hats, hoodies, you name it, they got you covered. Great for the 4th of July. They got, hot, refreshing items that are there. I mean, they just make the party go better. So make sure you go get your stuff. Make sure you're well supplied for the holidays throughout the summer, and prepare yourself for the fall weather that might be coming. I try to be really upbeat about the fall weather because it's hot. It is super hot. But enough of me, enough of that, because when we talk about hot, we got to talk about one of the hottest teams in Grid League. Help me welcome on Josh and Shay Newell, the Palm Beach Breakers. Josh, Shay, what's up? How we doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'd say this all the time. My feet hit the ground this morning, so I'm blessed. Rolled out of bed and I was able to stand up, and so I can't complain. Things are good. Things are very, very good. So I got to ask with you guys, obviously you make the trip down to Florida. You've made it halfway. I don't know if it's halfway. I don't know. But you're stopping off for a little, respite. You're having a nice little vacation. You're making a little trip out of it. The big thing is, Josh, are you actually relaxing? Because to me, like, it's hard to relax on vacation when you have kids. But even when I'm solo, it's very hard to disconnect. But are you able to disconnect?
How did you know, man? I am like, I'm the world's worst. Like, we're on the beach and I'm like, what am I going to do while I'm on the beach? I got to be productive. And she's like, that's not the point of the beach. You're supposed to relax. I'm like, but how will I get stuff done if I'm relaxing? Like, it's a vacation's kind of tough for me. Sometimes I feel like I need a vacation from my vacation. So like, I like to have a couple days off work when I get back home sometimes. It's a weird thing. I think you hit the nail on the head, though. I think a lot of, like, I'm not a dad, but I think a lot of men probably understand that vibe a little bit. So
it's an interesting, like, scenario. Like, yes, it's nice, it's tranquil, it's peaceful, but it's really hard to, like, go into the back levels of your brain and just turn everything off. So, yeah. But Shay, let me ask you, you seem like someone who could just turn everything off, and you're just
absolutely.
Like, I'm at the beach, baby.
Absolutely.
Put my feet in the sand.
As soon as my feet hit the sand out there, I will be in a chair, no thoughts, just vibes for the next probably 8 hours.
Man, I wish I think I could disconnect totally, maybe for a couple hours, but then I start worrying about stuff, and it's just
Yeah.
bad.
I got a good hour in me.
I'm like a golden retriever at the beach. I'm just vibing.
So I've lived in Tampa for now, I mean, since 2011, and I can count on almost one hand how many times I've actually gone to the beach here.
Yeah.
That is
For that
diabolical. That is diabolical. What?
It is probably the worst stat line that I have in my entire life is my amount of trips to the beach. Like,
I'm disappointed in that.
is very low. Well, here's the thing. When the pool is more my vibe, because going to the beach is an event. Like, I don't have time for an event. Like, I just want to go walk out, hang out. When I'm ready to go in, when I'm ready to go in, I want to be done. I just want to be.
Yeah.
But anyhow, you guys head down Tampa. You're at Valor Fitness this weekend. You're taking on the Palms. You improved to 2-0. Josh, how's the body holding up? You know, you feeling good?
Man, I thought I would feel better. I didn't have that much to do this match. And I'm like, you said, I got out of bed this morning and my feet hit the ground. I'm like, that wasn't without resistance.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a little rough, but I'm gonna say that might be the travel. Might have a little bit to do with that. But yeah, it was everything in grid. It doesn't, if you do 2 races and you hit them with the right intensity, you're gonna feel it. I think that sandbag is probably going to cause more damage than people expect. How intensely you had to hit that and how like different that is picking that up with speed. I'll bet you there's a lot of people walking around today feeling that and wondering why different muscles in their back and traps and stuff are hurting than normal. So,
I mean, even more like your the top of your head. I saw people with like
people their neck.
Scratched up noses and faces from where that sandbag just rolls down their face. It didn't look like it was a lot of fun. It looked like it was one of those very unorthodox, like not a very sexy movement, but one that you can definitely go, man, like this after just a couple of reps, you can feel it immediately.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean, I had a blast, but like I don't think I think I'm going to be in the minority on that. So.
Well, that's because you are a heavyweight. Pick it up, put it down. Like that's you. Like
I'd rather pick that up than a barbell. I think so. Like that's. But
Shay, what's your take on that ladder?
That ladder, honestly, I didn't even attempt the 4th one because even if I would have made the 4th one, it would have took so long for me to do it. I feel like, but 1 through 3 was surprisingly like super easy for me. I think the adrenaline of everything, I was just like, just pick it up, put it over. And I was actually pretty sad because I was like, well, dang, I feel like I probably, if I would have attempted 4, I would have cleared it. But dude, from the start, I hated that ladder. That ladder was not my forte. Please give me a barbell. I hate a sandbag. I do not want to pick a sandbag up. It's just not what I want to do. So it doesn't get to, I don't get to show off my beautiful lifting technique when I pick up a sandbag. And so I'm just like, man, I don't want to do this. So I was not a fan.
Yeah, I think it's an acquired taste. It definitely is. I think you're willing to compete and do the race, but it's like there's 100 other things that I would rather be on this ladder than these sandbags in this.
Right. Yes.
But either way, you guys improved to 2-0. You had a week 1 victory, 2012 over the Venom. You had a week 2 victory on Saturday, 18-9 against the Palms. let's jump into this weekend. Obviously, we've talked a lot about, week one and implications, storylines, and you guys taking care of business. But this week was about, all right, if you can improve to 2-0, you really put yourself in a good position for a playoff push. And then it becomes, okay, we can't have any hiccups, any faults, or any slowdown because point differential matters. So you definitely want to, if you're winning, you definitely want to continue to win by points, and that is a huge aspect as far as seeding and things like that go. But when you look at it, and I'm just calling it like I see it, Josh, it wasn't the cleanest of races to start this match. There was a lot of faults and a lot of different things. So from your perspective, am I wrong in that assessment?
No, no. Well, actually, I don't think we made a ton of mistakes. I just think the Palms were probably maybe faster than we expected in those two races. And I do want to give them credit for that. And they're a little bit, I would say they had a little bit more of a mechanical advantage over us height-wise in a couple of those movements. And they were quite fast. And so like when on the grid, you may not can see where people are, but you can feel the energy. And you're in that environment. It was hot. We were all kind of a little bit sweaty and nervous. You're getting in there. You can't shake off your nerves. Partner forward's tough because your adrenaline's sky high and you haven't had a chance to unload any of that. And so like you get in these races, and if the other team is pushing you, maybe when you expected to do really well, you get a little tight. Sometimes things happen that you didn't plan on, but big credit to our team as a whole in both partner forward and mirror for delivering exactly what they needed to deliver to get it done. The Palms, so far that I can see, they had the second fastest times on both of those races. And we needed to have the fastest time in the league to beat them. And so I think they were just very fast. And so big time credit to JoJo and Vita for closing down 3 and 4. Even though they did have like a one fault error in that 3 that kind of like let them back in the door, they stepped right back up and got it back. Evan and Alyssa kept us very close to people that had a very big mechanical advantage over them squatting. And then in the mirror, our people just kept it exactly where we needed to be so that Vita and Nate could finish the job. Like we stayed exactly where we needed to be so that Vita and Nate, and I wouldn't want to be racing Vita on anything mirror. So even though I get to often, but I wouldn't want to be on the other side of the grid with that. And Nate stepped up in a big way and put that speed on. So great job from our people, but credit to the Palms on that. They were a lot faster than maybe we expected them to be. And that put us in a position where you get a little bit, you're rushing a little bit, and we just have to, that may have been the only real, I would say, mistakes, I guess. Mm-hmm. I feel like we ran a very clean race from that point on. Mm-hmm. Once we survived that, we were like, all right, now let's lock in and we'll take care of business.
So Shay, when you're over there and, those first two, because in week one, if you notice, like the Palms came out against the Brigade on fire. And if it wasn't for a challenge that was overturned or which created a rerun, then, the Brigade had a chance to come back and steal that one. That might be looking like a different scenario, but that the Palms after week one are going to come out on fire. They come out on fire. You guys sneak in and beat them at the very end. And that's a, tribute to, the people that you have in quad 4, closing the door. But Shay, when you're on the sideline and you have those races that close, is anything said to the team as far as like, hey, like we got to make sure that we're focused because they're not going to go away? Or is it just understood like we got this, we know what we need to clean up, we know what we need to do to pull this thing out? I'm just curious what the interaction is like after something like that happens.
It's always a little bit of both. We're all very competitive athletes on the breakers. We're also very high level athletes. We don't have a lot of rookies this year. We have just a few. So it's just like us veterans, we understand, hey, let's clean it up. We know what we got to do. And then also we want to make sure that the rookies know, like, hey, good job, but let's clean this up. Just keep your head in the game. And then of course, I mean, our captains, Josh and Vita, they keep us set. They keep us set on a path where, I mean, they just set us up for success. They let us know, hey, good job, but let's clean it up here. Let's keep our head in the game. Let's keep this ball rolling and just stay focused on your task, do what you got to do. And if we all do what we do, we're going to win these races.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of both in the end.
Yeah. And when you have new players, you know, especially like as athletic as a guy as Nate Cobb, he hasn't been on the grid before. Like he's done practice and he's done some things he knows, but like it is totally different when you're out there for the first time. So like having those conversations, I'm sure, are key for players like him or even Billy or Haley Booker that they've have a match under their belt, but maybe there wasn't like this stronger opposition or like this thing, not negative, but like maybe like some adversity, you know, in a sense that they're having to see, because what they don't know is, yeah, you guys have taken care of business pretty cleanly and doing your thing, and it really wasn't in question too much in either one of the weeks. But at some point, those rookies and those new players have to know, like, adversity is going to come, and we might be down in a match, and we have to be able to handle that in order for us to do what we do. You know, Jason at CrossFit Media says JoJo just wanted to overtake these guys twice. He was willing to just do whatever, you know.
That
Put
would
him
be
in
such a
quadrant 4,
JoJo
let
thing
him
to do.
Yeah.
But I want to get to.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Shay.
JoJo definitely, he knows how to come from behind, and like he knows how to handle business. Like he knows JoJo can just go into like this different level. I feel like you can just see it in his face when he like turns everything off and just like knows it's time to handle business.
Yeah. And that's, you know, and that's what you have to have. I mean, you look across the league and you know the players that really flip that switch of intensity when it's go time, because as nice as they are off the grid, you know, chatty and whatever, once that switch is flipped, like you almost don't want to be in their way.
Right.
Because, like that's on you. If you get in the way of that, that is on you, because they are showing you and telling you on a week-to-week basis when they're out there, like, this is who I am. I'm going to get after it because I have a job to do. You know, when you look at this, Josh, obviously this weekend, was this a match where you felt as though like it was a trap match because the Palms had such a well fought, you know, battle against the Brigade, and you guys felt as though, well, they can beat us? Or did you go in there going, nope, nobody can beat us as long as we do our thing?
Well, it's easy to say that you don't worry about the other team on the grid and you just run your race. And I think everybody would say that. And you do have to do that. But it's impossible to deny that there's another team over there and you know who their players are and you know what their strengths are. And if you have any experience in the grid, you're going to look at the races and be like, all right, good place for us to make a move here. Good place for us to look at how we can save some people, some energy here. So you do all of that. But we were very focused on getting this win for a few reasons. Number one, the Breakers have never beaten anyone other than Venom. So it was our first opportunity to take a win over a team that was not the Venom. First opportunity to ever win two matches. Sorry to pick on the Venom there. That's not what I meant by that. But first opportunity to ever win two matches in a year for Matt. An opportunity to really put ourselves in a great position going into Dallas for a playoff push. To where, like you said earlier, we have to just make sure we don't have any major hiccups, and we're in a great spot. We have to take care of our business, but we're in a really good spot now, having two wins. Given the way our conference is shaken out, it's going to be very, very tough to fall out of that spot. So we've put ourselves in a great position there, and all of that was the focus. Just go and handle our business, take care of what we do, and not to there's no such thing as a trap matching grid. Like you, if you come out and you don't execute, every team is talented, and they can give it to you. so like every single match can be a trap match. Every race can be a trap race. And so like you have to bring your A game every single time, no matter who you're playing. So, or they'll all become one.
Let's talk about that then. The league as a whole. Obviously, you are a consumer of the sport. Everything of the sport you take in. So you know, I saw you there every match, taking in as much as you could. And I guess that's the benefit of being the first match of the day. Like you have the luxury, you're already there, you can stay and hang out and do those things. But you know, from your perspective, like you look at all the matches this past weekend, were there any surprises, good or bad?
I don't know that there were surprises. I feel really I'm a little bit discouraged at like some of the lineup issues that are happening. I think it's kind of taken away from some of the product on the grid. You know, things that happened to the Venom, whether that's their fault or not, like based on how they constructed their roster, being very weighted for Dallas, you know, just not having a full roster to compete against the Sharks is unfortunate. The Wild, like suffering with a bunch of injuries, you know, and now you're already, you know, you're undermanned, and now you have to put people out there for like race after race after race. So like some of these product that's going out there is maybe not as good as it could be, just based off lineup issues, and that's tough. And I would like to see teams at full strength competing against each other. I think the league would like that as well. I'm sure the teams that are not at full strength would like that. And I'd hazard to guess even some of the teams that are facing those teams would probably rather compete against teams at full strength. So that's a bit unfortunate. I mean, even our match, the Palms are missing Briley Hansen. You know, you cannot understate how much that may or may not have mattered to their ability to fill the lineup. So like that's unfortunate. You know, that was just kind of a thing I noticed is like I think there were some matchups that could have went a little differently had teams been at full strength, and I would like to see that. And maybe some of those matchups will happen in the playoffs, and we'll get to see that. But that was a bit unfortunate. The other thing I will say to that note, just because I want to kind of speak on it, for that reason, I think the league is going to have to look into whether or not reruns make sense on these races. With these teams that are facing like a little bit less lineup depth, if you keep rerunning races, you're just increasing the odds that the team that's deeper will win. And I think they made some decisions in the Wild versus Lions match to that effect. But they may have to look into like maybe a time penalty for like a certain amount of no reps and just see how the chips fall or something like that. Because if you keep rerunning races, and especially if you allow people to substitute fresh bodies in for the race, you're going to wind up with different results that don't fit the actual, you know, standards of what happened in the original race. And so that part is probably my biggest thing that I noticed. I'd like to see a little bit more balance, and I think it would happen if we just had, you know, a little more full lineups. So,
yeah, it's, you know, here's my perspective is that the teams that draw a team that's not at full strength, you can't fault that team. They can only play the team that shows up. And if you go out and you dominate or you just beat the hell out of a team, like that's what you're supposed to do.
yeah.
Like I am a baseball fan at heart and a very traditional baseball fan, but I'm not one of those traditional baseball fans that's like, oh, these are the unwritten rules. You're not supposed to bunt and score runs when you're up. But like, no, you are supposed to win however you need to win. And in grid, point differential matters. And while I do understand, like, let's make this as fair and like let's figure out a way to preserve safety, like that is paramount. But I do understand players when they're like, we have to win by as much as we can. I don't care who's out there, like, but I think there's a way to have that conversation, you know, and a way not to. But you know, it is tough when you have teams that aren't at full strength, and it's even tougher when you're battling injuries to begin with, and then you come in and you have more injuries on top of that. And
Yeah.
I would say it's one thing, if you know who the players are and that they're not going to be available prior to this match. It's another when these injuries happen in the middle of the match, because that's like a game changer for sure.
Absolutely. Especially
Um,
given the way that grid substitution rules are. So, I mean, like you have an injury and you have to pull that player. Now people have to move around in the lineup, and it's not possible sometimes to substitute the correct player for that person. So that's a whole nother wormhole we could go down, but we don't
I
have
mean,
to right now. But
to be honest, like, Paul and Dan, those guys are doing an incredible job with
oh
the
yeah,
role, like trying to
yeah,
fill in where they can and try to make the most competitive like lineup that they possibly can. Is
yeah,
difficult when everyone is healthy, much less when
Yeah.
you're trying to like ask of players to do certain things. And I think that in and of itself is validation to a coach when you're able to rely on other people to do things that they're not comfortable doing. But that's also validation to how good the players really are, because now you're asking people to come in and do things that they didn't think they were going to be doing.
yeah.
You know,
And the other
it's like
point to that is,
Shay, last year
yeah,
you were asked,
exactly.
you're not prepared to do as much as you probably did last year. And what do you know? Like, you come in, you do the job. Like, that's validation to how good of an athlete you are. And so, like, I tip my hat to the athletes and the coaches that are able to do that, because it's tough. It really is. We got Cassie in the comments. She's agreeing with you, Josh. She said the playoffs are going to be really competitive.
Yeah, maybe more so than they look like currently on paper is what I would say. I would be careful to judge too much based off 2 matches
Right.
so far. So we're still only halfway through the season. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there's the things that are happening to some of those teams. There are players that are stepping up and doing things, and like maybe that doesn't pay off this year, just because of point differential and things like that. But maybe it's a situation like you just mentioned where like players on the Breakers last year got a few more reps and things that they may not have, and now this year they're ready to do those things, for our team, and so that changes our team. So that's big. So, but yeah, so it's
building a team in any professional sport. It's a process, and like,
yeah,
that's why I was talking to Sophia Davenport this weekend, and I was like, you have to be proud of what you've been able to build. I said, regardless of whether you win all your matches or lose all of them, like, it's a process to build a championship organization. You just don't, like, I don't care what anybody says. You can have all the money in the world, but you can't just go out and buy a championship. I've seen it. Like, I've seen the best of the best players not be able to do that. It takes a grind. I mean, you go back to one of the greatest, franchise runs ever with the Chicago Bulls in the 90s. And even then, they had to start off losing in order to build that dynasty that they did. So, it's crazy. It's tough. And I know, like, with the regular season only being, the 4 matches that it is, like every match is important. But, Josh, when you look at the teams after, we're halfway through the regular season, when you look at the teams right now, power rankings, like, people are looking at me to do these power rankings, and they will come. And I just want to preface this for everybody. They came out fast last time, but now I got a little bit more data. And
yeah.
I'm waiting to get that data. So they will come, but maybe not as quick as they did. But I'm just curious, like, when you look at it from 10,000-foot view based on where we're at in the season, where do you think the teams rank?
Oh, you're gonna try to get me in trouble. You're gonna make a clip out of me over here.
He's been waiting for this moment.
I think there's
the Breakers. There's more teams than the Breakers in the league.
yeah. Well, the Breakers, yeah. I mean, the Breakers are number 1, of course. I mean, like, come on. I mean, I believe in my team. I really do. This isn't a homer thing. I believe in my team. I believe in our squad. But like, if you take the Breakers out of it, naturally, and you just say the rest of the teams of the league. I do think there's something to be said about the records of certain teams not necessarily reflecting how they've performed. Some of the scheduling has led to, there are a couple teams that are 0-2 that are not that different from teams that are 2-0. I won't say whether or not they're better or worse, but if you looked at like race times and data and how they've played, there's some logjam in the middle where there's some 0-2 teams and some 2-0 teams that have not looked that differently on the grid.
Just drop the names.
Yeah, I'm
Just
not
drop the
pointing out
names.
any names. I think it's easy to see that the Sharks are playing at a level that's going to be tough to compete with. I think the Brigade have looked strong.
Mhm.
I think the Lions have a ton of talent. I think that the Palms have played better than their record reflects, as have the Venom. I think the Bandits and the Wild are struggling to deal with some inexperience. And I would say, if you just listen to what I said, those power rankings are pretty on point with where I feel the league's at. Kind of in that order, kind of Lions and Palms are right there. Because I think those are the two teams that are 2-0 and 0-2, but they've had very similar race times, just looking at the time wise. So and that's not necessarily, I want to be very clear, that's not me saying the Lions are bad. That's me saying the Palms
are better than
they've had a very
what the record's
unfortunate
showing.
they've had a very unfortunate 0-2 is what I would say. They've played two very good teams, and they've wound up 0-2 with pretty good race times. So that's something. There's something to be said about that. So that matchup in Dallas may be very interesting between them and the Lions, because that's on paper it looks like a 2-0 team and an 0-2 team, but they've been, they're both good teams, is what I would say. They're both very good teams. So
yeah, I agree to an extent. I think the Lions, they're the matches that they've been given right now, it's out of their control. Right?
Yeah.
And so they've gone and they've taken care of business. So you got to be all right, cool. You did what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But week one's Lions team looked very different than this week 2 Lions team. And that's in terms of you got Jasmine Simpson back. All right. Huge, right? On top of that, when you think about they took care of business, they beat the team that was in front of them. They dominated every race, and then they're going to get another guy, Ryan DeMatti, at some point in Dallas, and he's really good. For everybody out there, he's really good.
You don't got to remind me.
Talking to Taylor Sturgis, I got to shout him out because what an incredible guy. All right. If y'all very passionate, very fiery, and I love it. His intensity is there. He's got that swag about him. He got after it, and he's continuing to get after it, and he wants to win every single race, every single match. And whether that's by 1 second or 100 seconds, wins are wins right now. And you just kind of move on accordingly. But I do think that Lions team looked way different than they did week 1. And that was just in a better version of themselves.
Yeah, and you have no idea if they're pushed to the limit, if they're not capable of more too. So I'm not going to sit here and say that their race times mean there's such and such. I made the same comment about our Echoes, which that's a whole. Well, we're going to go down that rabbit hole, but
I feel like we need to.
I made the same comment about our Echoes, where it's hey, had we needed to go faster, had we known we needed to go faster, we definitely had the capability to do so, but we thought we had 4.5 minutes, and looking across the grid, there was no reason to push our bodies because we have the whole race to do. That same thing can be happening when you're playing a team. You are just racing that team. And
that's the thing too. Your race time and the Echo in comparison to others, it's not going to be apples to apples just because of the fact that you were in control of the race. You knew you weren't going to complete it in the time domain that was given to you. So it's like, well, in order to preserve strength and
Yeah.
keeping people from getting hurt, we'll stay out there and we'll make sure that we stay ahead. But like the reality is like, yeah, you're not going to complete it in the given time frame. And so like let's preserve ourselves a little bit here. So like, yeah, there are different instances that come up where race times don't matter. And like for that one, I think that is one race. When I get the race times and I start analyzing race times, I think I'm just going to throw that one completely out. I'm not even going to.
I don't even know how it can be comparable for everyone throughout the whole day. There's just no way that it can be
right
considered like comparable. I mean, which, that's we try to get definitely stay ahead of the Palms so that like if the league went back and awarded any type of point differential or anything like that, then we would be warranted in that decision. But you only had hindsight's 2020. We probably had enough time, even under the 330, had we made a game plan to finish that in the second echo. But you have about 30 seconds, give or take, after you've settled the dust from what happened in the first one, to make those decisions. And at that point, we're like, okay, something's going on. We need to just preserve Reese, who we have for our ringer.
Yeah.
We need to preserve these people's energy because there's something going on and we don't know what is going on. And were we that slow? We didn't feel slow. In that moment, it's easy to sit back and watch the film and be like, well, we should have tried hard and got this echo done. But
I mean, in the sake of like competitiveness, like, yeah, you want to go out there and go, no, I can do this. Like, because I am sure in Echo 2, whether it was stated or not, I just have this belief that internally, like you guys were like, okay, it's a challenge now.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to go out now. I'm going to do it. But then when you get closer, you go, all right, this is not obtainable. Like, let's.
Yeah, we were actually like faster in Echo 2, right?
Well, yeah, I think we just got cleaner reps in our handstand complex because they were more warmed up and kind of had the feel for like how it was going to go. And I think most teams improved upon their time in the Echo 2.
But I think didn't you guys switch Echo 2? Didn't Sabrina start the handstand?
She did, but we decided on the fly that we would go ahead and send out Evan to do ring muscle ups, who was not going to butterfly. We decided that if we got to the flipper, we would use a different pair there just to eat the reps up. It just wasn't, I don't think we had enough time to process that it was just short enough cap that we could still get it done.
Yeah.
Right. And so like we did not, and it's the other part of that is, watching what was happening across the grid during the first echo, when we assumed we would finish it, me and Matt were already on the side ready to throw the bonus flag for the second echo because we're watching it. We're like, okay, as long as we complete our handstand complex reps, this will be very tough for them to keep up with us here. And we should 100% throw our bonus flag. This looks like a major obstacle for them. So, it's a big point swing. The race would have been mathematically over after the echoes. Had those been allowed to count, because Billy took their ringer. That was a big turning point, after getting those first three races, albeit they were so close. First three races decided by less than 3 seconds total, but winning all of them and then going into those echoes, I think the score would have been like 11-3 or something at that point. If you go 5 races deep and you're up by more than 6 or 7 points, the match can only be tied. The match would be ostensibly over at that point. So very, very, like, it was tough to leave those echoes and it still be 6-3.
Right.
And the match be like well within the balance still, when you feel like you've done enough work to put this away. Yes, you did take the ringer twice, Jason. Yeah.
So, it's, you definitely want to put yourself in the position that you guys did. Try to mathematically make this thing over as quickly as possible. And then, after 6 races, you can do that and you can feel good. And obviously that brings down like the level of intensity maybe that you go out and try to do things once you're in that comfortable position.
Right.
But I will say, like, it with the bonus flags and with certain things, it really postpones teams from being able to do that as quickly. And I appreciate that because I want a competitive match. This weekend, I'll say score wise, it wasn't the most competitive, and none of them came down to sprint relays, which is what you like to see. And that's the where like you get really invested because it comes down to that one. But like it is good to see matches like this because you really get an idea who the strongest teams are when they go out and they assert some dominance in these matches. And I think from the start of the season until now, I think, or at least I feel as though I've been pretty much on point with those 4 top teams. And there's a close maybe next 2, and then now there's a bottom 2. But even the bottom 2, like it's based on just like things that have happened, and it's not
Yeah.
like they went into the season, like they're going to be the bottom 2 the whole way. No, it's
No, and you better not sleep on anybody. I'm telling you, everybody in this league is talented,
Well,
and everybody's got playmakers.
Yeah.
And you can get humbled real quick. So, and every single race is an opportunity. Like even if, let's say that match they had counted the echoes, while we may have taken a little bit of intensity out of like the triads or the sprint relay, you're always looking at, if you're a good team, I feel like, and you're well run, you're always going to be looking at every race as an opportunity to, all right, let's run this cleanly. Let's do this transition really, really well, because you don't have any pressure now on you. If you can't do it with no pressure on you, we're not going to be able to trust you to do it with pressure on you. So like you need to show that like, hey, you can get clean reps because there's nothing on the line. So you better be able to do it now, So like every single race is an opportunity, especially if the match is over, you now have a live practice scenario.
Yeah. Throw some people in.
And you need to be taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, at least.
Knock on wood, injuries can happen for any team at any point, and the wrong injury for a team can be very costly.
Right.
And that's where depth matters and balance matters. But in the middle of a match, it still makes it very difficult no matter how balanced you are. But I do want to get into that. You're talking about, you can't overlook any of the teams. Obviously, what's next? Dallas. July 12th, July 13th, you got weeks 3 and 4 in combination with one another. This is interesting because you're going to take on a Wild team that, for what we see, you'll go in as the favorite to win. And if you win, then it sets up what could potentially be the matchup to win the conference against the Lions. Now, you don't believe in trap matches, I know. All right. But this is a scenario where you look at a Wild team that you should beat and you feel like you should beat them. But if you don't, like now it's point differential, then you begin hoping that other teams don't win, and then it becomes out of your control. So, Shay, when you guys are practicing, preparing for this match against the Wild, are you thinking anything about the Lions after them on the next day, or is it strictly, here's what we got to do to beat the Wild?
I for sure think the Lions are always in the back of our head, for sure. But like I said earlier, I mean, we try to just focus on getting the job done that's in front of us and moving through that and getting through that and then tackling what's to come next. But I would be lying if I said, I mean, we're already thinking about the Lions. So
Well, it's a doubleheader.
yeah.
So I mean,
you like what she did there? She said she would be lying.
Yeah.
Well, it's also it's a doubleheader, so like you have to have a game plan for both days.
Yeah.
So like I think that would be wildly different if you told us we had clinched playoffs and we had to play the Wild, and they were in 2 separate months.
Yeah.
And that would be very different if we said, well, we don't care about the Wild, we're only focused on the Lions. But it is a doubleheader, so you're likely to have multiple assignments on both days.
Yeah.
And we do have to game plan accordingly for that. So like you are going to have some people who are a little more focused on the Lions,
Yes.
and some people who are a little more focused on the Wild. And every team may not be able to do that because of depth, but we will certainly have a group of people who have a heavier role against the Wild and a group of people who have a heavier role against the Lions. And while you need to be on top of both of those assignments, it's going to be natural for some people's focus to be a little bit more on one or
the
days.
other. Yeah.
But if we had the Lions already clinched as a playoff matchup and the Wild coming up in Dallas as our only match, and anybody on our team was talking about the Lions as like our only focal point, I would be having some conversations with them. Like, let the coaches and the owners focus on the strategy for things that far in advance, and if everybody does their assignments as they come up, I'll be very, very happy.
But here's the difficulty. And do you like the fact that, I guess from a league standpoint, the regular season finale, like it's possible where the highest stakes could be on the table? Not necessarily a playoff berth, but winning a conference like that. Like to me, that's important.
Yeah.
Is it tough? Do you embrace the fact that you're going to have to do that on the second day and back-to-back days, or is that like, hell yeah, like let's go? Because traditionally you have some time in between matches to recover until you get to the playoffs. And I guess what I'm saying is you almost have to treat this as like this is early playoffs, because now you're going from one match that you need to win and put yourself in a good position, and then the next match the stakes increase. It's not a do or die by any means, but you would like to win it. But is it difficult when you have these back-to-backs like that?
What do you think? I prefer it.
I mean, I was about to say, I like it. It just, I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I wish every match was like that.
I'm also not Evan, and I don't have to do 10 races every match.
Yeah,
So
true.
I might change my mind if I was Evan.
Vita might not appreciate it as much.
I don't have to worry about all that.
Yeah.
So, but I do think it's an important aspect of the depth of your team, and how you can navigate that. So that's an important. I mean, that should matter on some level. So like, being able to navigate a doubleheader. I don't know about a single day, like this single day playoff structure. Obviously I'm thinking about that now that we're in a good position, and that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
That'll be a whole new level of strategy. If we're fortunate enough to make it there, then that'll be a different level of strategy that'll be required there. Especially, looking at if you just saw, like, looking at the teams in the other conference, the Brigade and the Sharks, and I'm not speaking about the Lions, Palms, Wild, any of those in our conference, because we would have to play them first match. So it's not relevant to that. You have to beat them anyways. But like the Brigade and the Sharks, they
are deep.
I mean, I'm looking at there's not enough room for them.
They are deep.
They got people in the back just so there's room to be. I'm like, how you got so many players? So like, it'll be a gauntlet for whoever makes that one day environment. So this is good practice. I mean, it's spread out on 2 days, but it's a good time to test your team depth, and play around with some stuff and see who can handle a little bit more workload.
So you got a few weeks. What do you do now? Is there something singularly that you guys are working on, or is it strictly let's look at the match format? We know that we can do the movements. It's just a matter of like trying to figure out the best lineup.
A little bit of that. We were fortunate enough to have a team put together pretty early, so we tested. Looking at how there were going to be 3 weeks between matches, we tested most of these matches in the off season. We had all our testers in for all these matches before.
Literally by February.
We had all of this stuff. All the data has been in a spreadsheet. We know who's the fastest, and you have had ample opportunity if you would like to improve upon any of that. And we'll update the sheet, and because people do improve and get better. But we have a general idea of exactly what everyone will do. And then based on anything that comes up, life situation, people that can or can't make it to Dallas if that was to happen, things like that do happen, and then you make adjustments. We're fortunate to be flexible enough that If we were to have to do so, we have a lot of good options to where we can move around the lineup. And we were fortunate that everybody was invested in testing, and tested a lot of things. So like we have 4, 5, 6, 7 people deep testing numbers on most things. So we have the option to say, we can move this here and this here and this here, and we will still be in a good position. And that's just a credit to how hard our team has worked to make this happen. I've talked about it. We're the small market team of the Grid League, in my opinion. We have. I'm going to say it because I wanted to get it out here on this podcast, but a lot of hype around a lot of teams that have a lot of Instagram followers, and we might have 50,000 combined with our whole team. I'm not saying it's like that nobody wants us to be great, but nobody likes it when their little brother stops being their little brother.
Yeah.
So like there's some adversity we're starting to run into.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the league doesn't want to hype us up either. It's just that it's more marketable to hype up a Kelsey Keel and a Danielle Brandon and an Alex Smith. They're very, they have earned the right to be marketed. They have those followers. But we're silently working. Like our people are working. They're hungry. None of us have gotten here because we have Instagram followers. We're here because we work, and we want to prove that. And we want to prove that that's a way that you can get this done too.
I think Jess Craisman says it the best. It's the grid, not the runway.
And as it should be.
Yeah.
But I do think there's a little bit of runway going on for some teams. I will say so. But I think that not having that Instagram following, not having that marketability as big as some of the other teams, we're a little bit in the background, even though we're really good. And we don't mind that. Like, we're all right with that. We're okay with being the underdog and showing up and working hard. But when the time comes, if we do take care of business, everybody on this team's going to deserve their flowers for that. So, but we ain't earned nothing yet. So it's not to say that we've arrived. Like, we still have to keep working. Like, it's nothing's going to be given to you. So you got to earn it. And none of us are any stranger to that, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So we're fine with that. So
I'm excited for this next match format. I'm ready to see 315-pound back squats. I'm ready to see that in a mirror. I'm ready to see the heavy rope. I'm ready to see the triad while wearing vests. I'm ready to see all of those things.
You ready to see me doing aerials? Is that what you're saying?
I saw you do an L-sit rope climb. I saw you do 3 of them.
That might be the extent of my gymnastics tricks right there. I don't know about the aerial.
If you went out and did an aerial, Josh, I would say I would be surprised, but
please don't tempt me.
I'm gonna pull my groin getting out of this chair.
But in the back of my head, if I was like, if there's gonna be a strength specialist, do it. Like, you're gonna do it.
No, man, no.
And it might not look pretty, but you'll go out there and give it a shot.
No, for real. Josh is one of those people where, like, he has his set ways and his set abilities, but like, if you were to put him in a situation and seriously tell him, Josh, we need you to do these aerials, this man would go out there.
That would be the only way.
And break his neck trying to do those dang aerials.
It would have to be do or die. It's not happening any other way.
I would be in the background like this.
I think the Wild would be pleasantly happy if they saw you go out do aerials,
brother. The whole grid would shut down and just watch. That's the only way we would win the race. Like, because everybody would just be like, hold up, we got to see that this is not happening, right?
That's a lot. That's a lot of man.
No, we got plenty of people for that. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
None of that. None of me doing giants in the rings. That ain't happening. Like, we ain't gonna see none of that.
Which is crazy because he can do them.
We're gonna see me sticking to what I know what to do. I'm gonna lift a few weights, and I mean a very few, and and be happy with that. But let Shay get in the rings, not me. So.
Jess says she feels you. You know, doubt us and just use that shit as the motivation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, we pull it for you. Come on. I want to see y'all. I want to see y'all take care of some business. So.
Yeah. I was in the crowd cheering for the brigade this past weekend for sure.
It's not to say nobody likes the Sharks. It's just we appreciate the hard work when that respect goes both ways. Like if I
Yeah.
see people that work hard with a little bit of without the notoriety, that respect goes out the same way. So
Yeah.
so like I'm pulling for any team that's doing that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So
I mean, I think
if
if we stayed on here long enough, I could just be quiet and just
bro, just pull her up. Pull her up. Let her go.
I know she's gonna be on
she's with Fico later, right? Is he?
well, yeah, she's gonna be with Jason across
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Yeah,
on this podcast later. So but what else this weekend? What else we got to talk about before we wrap this up? Anything on your mind? I know you're a guy who has a lot on your mind. So
man, I've said most of it. I really do want to shout out to our team because, like I said, if nobody else is going to give them flowers, then I'm for sure going to. Big shout out to the girl right here beside me because she was super nervous about the rings and getting up into that height. She's never been in the rings at that
This
height.
is my first debut on the grid in the rings.
Yeah,
So
she's big time for her to conquer that. Big shout out to Billy. She was super nervous about having to do that ringer against
and then
Heather.
had to do it twice.
And props. I mean, that was one of the closest races I've ever seen. But I told Billy today, execution, reliability matter. Being able to hit those reps cleanly both times mattered in the end. So and she joked she wanted it to be 20 burpees, and I told her you got your wish because you got to do it twice. So that's what you wanted. That's what you got. So props to our rookies. Nate stepping up in his first match, big time. Props to the rookies that came back and showed up again. Haley Booker with an increased role. Alyssa Hoffman, who has been massive for us in the first match and in this match. She didn't get to do everything she was scheduled to do because of the Echo fiasco, but props to her for doing what she was supposed to do extremely well. Dylan with a bounce back match. Crushed the Jack and Jill. Sorry I let you down, man. I couldn't climb the L-sits as fast as my guy who is apparently related to Wolverine because he healed pretty dang quickly after his ringer injury to hit those 3 in a row.
I think that's the main thing I want to speak about is because shout out to Reese who crushed his ringer, and we know he was going to crush his ringer, but his celebration, I guess, after got kind of taken away.
Didn't get to have his moment.
Because of a injury. I'll just leave it at that. So shout out to Reese.
I will say that. I can't speak to anybody else's issues that they were having. But I did find that a little bit interesting that he had an injury during his ringer and then was able to go back and complete the L-sit road climbs about 2 minutes later. I would never want to accuse anybody of planning that out, but if that was not real, I feel bad for Reese to not get his moment because Reese is such a genuine guy and he was hunting that guy down to see if he was okay. I hope that guy is okay and healthy. And I genuinely hope that wasn't an orchestrated event. But that's one thing that I was not super happy about. I would like to see a little bit more transparency around some of the injury rules in the league.
Right.
So that's another thing. But big shout out to Reese anyways. Handled his business.
He crushed his ringer, but we knew he was going to crush that ringer.
Took care of it.
He's the ring king. So
and also the silent assassin, Yonatan Restrepo, who if you didn't even know that he was on the grid, I told Matt at Hornaday, I said, Yoda teleports into the match, does his assignment like a boss, and then disappears.
Then teleports out.
He's just gone, man. It's like he finishes his assignment with just expert level, and then I don't even know where he was for the rest. He just disappears, never says a word. He's the mailman. He delivers. And then he's gone, man. But that guy is a stud. Cody for showing up and supporting us, even though he had to be the 10th man on this one.
Yeah.
Just the whole squad. If I've missed anybody, I'm gonna lose sleep tonight about it. Sabrina for coming in.
I was about to say Sabrina crushed her dumbbells, man. She was working hard on them dumbbells
after she had to do a whole bunch of handstand complexes for nothing. So big time shout out to our whole squad.
Our team is literally so great this year, and everybody just does their job so well. They understand where they're supposed to be. They understand how they're supposed to execute things, and that's why you can just tell there's. I mean, we've said it since January. There's just a difference in the Breakers this year, and you can just so visibly see it. And we just all genuinely work so well together.
And last one, shout out to you for jumping on the broadcast crew.
Yeah.
Being a part of that, man. From what I've seen so far that I've got to watch, it was awesome.
Man, you did a great job. Did a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll say this. It's different. It really is. I'm very passionate. I care about the sport. I do a lot of preparation just to do a good job because I want to bring value. So if people feel like I bring value to the live stream and the reporting part, man, that means a lot. Makes me feel good.
You did, man.
You did. I'm a fan for sure.
Yeah, Cassie and Taylor are getting their flowers on Instagram right now.
Yeah,
and that's great. But you were a good part of that broadcast crew too.
Yeah.
From the other day, you just weren't in that picture. So
it's truly a team. I mean,
yeah.
Oh man, I couldn't imagine doing what you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, from the setup of all of the production that goes into it to what Ruby does to what Taylor and Cassie and just camera guys. And I apologize, I need to there's so many people, names, I'll learn names and I'll be able to.
It takes a village, man. It takes a village.
I think that's the one thing that, I was kind of thrown back by is this is a huge undertaking and they do it multiple times a year and they do it with speed and efficiency, and it's like clockwork, and
and we're so guilty. We're so guilty of sitting back and just criticizing. I know I am. I'm like, man, I wish they do this better. I wish they do that better. I wish they do this better. But the stuff that they're doing, they may not get as much recognition for the improvements they've made. If you go back and watch year to year, things just keep getting better and keep getting better, and they're very receptive. I think I told Matt the other day, I wish they would do a picture-in-picture of when one team wins and they celebrate and the other team pops up and you can't tell what's happening on the other side of the grid anymore. And lo and behold, I'm watching and I'm like, oh my God, there it is. They've done it. They've fixed that, and so they're super receptive to feedback. Everything was so good. A lot of comments from people that watched our matches that said the commentary and everything in the interviews were really, really good and on point. I know the crew that was there probably struggled in that heat, the equipment crew and the refs. So mad shout out to them because I only had to work out in it for an hour and I thought I was going to black out. So.
And dragging those yokes and sandbags around. They had all those women out there bosses just tossing those sandbags around and yokes around, getting it set up for everybody. It was amazing.
Telling you, I just had to stay. I didn't want to be caught on frame trying to pick up something and then have a tough time. So I just
you were dressed too nicely to be picked up.
Yeah, you had the suit on. So,
but let me get to a couple of these comments. Obviously, we were talking earlier, and this is what I love about Jess. The older I get, the less fucks she gives.
Same, Jess.
When it comes to injuries and whether they're legit or not, Jason says conspiracies. He loves it. He's here for those.
I mean, you pay the price for it. You get a 0 on the race either way.
Right.
I just felt bad for Reese in that moment.
Yeah.
To not get to celebrate his win and everything, and that's a petty thing to say you feel bad about, but that it's still he earned the right.
But a ringer is very, very stressful, and when you win that, you work hard, you win it. You should not have that celebration stripped from you.
Yeah, or feel guilty if you did.
Or feel guilty.
He could have celebrated, but I imagine I would have felt guilty.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. He didn't really feel like he could because you don't want to be that guy that's over there gallivanting, winning, and then the other guy's hurt, Yeah.
And he very well could have been hurt, and it just doesn't bother him on LSAT rope climbs. But it was a bit disheartening to see him right back out there on the next race. And I'm like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And props to him. He did 3 in a row, man. He beat my like a drum. I said, well, you're better than me, dude. You can. I'm gonna take my chances that you fail one.
I mean, injured or not, he crushed those dang LSATs. So
he did his work, man. So that's that. But did want to kind of mention that. So get some controversy brewing there, but since they tried to question my depth on my thrusters,
yeah.
Bro, I've been warming up for 2 months to make those. Jesus,
you got there. Jason said, Shay, you were worried about the rings.
Oh, yeah.
First time. He said, during the pre-match show, you were out there. He could see you back there in the background practicing on the ring.
You can probably see me. You can probably see me and Joshua in the midst of a little bickering because Joshua was telling me, "You're fine. You got this. You can do it." And I'm like, "No, I can't do this. I'm not going to be good. I'm not going to do this right." I was freaking out, man. I was freaking out, and for nothing, I went out there. I did what I was supposed to do. Even got a little bit of a slip on my first rep. I slipped on some chalk that was on the rings, and normally that would have probably just like thrown me completely off. But when you're out on the grid, everything is just like black. Like I'm just blacked out, and I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do.
She's the hardest athlete on the entire team for me to like settle down as a leader. So, so like most everybody else, I feel like I've got a good pulse on like, hey, do they need me to say anything to them? Do they need me to leave them alone? Like, do they just need silence? Do they need like, hey, do they need to know that like they're better than this person? Do they need to know that like I need them to breathe easy? Like her, I don't have a clue. Like as long as I've known her, as long as we're at like there's no telling what it needs to be in the moment. So usually on match day, like actually on the grid, you'll see we're never close to each other.
Yeah, we're going separate ways.
I'm like, I'm gonna let you do you. Like I am not.
Stop trying to figure her out, Josh.
Yeah.
If I spend my whole life trying to figure it out, I guess that's good because she'll always feel like I'm trying. So
yeah,
he's clearly got it covered. But
he does. He does a great job.
Jess, you are right. Ruby, it's like it's crazy. She does the work of 1,000 people. There's probably 3, maybe 4 of her, and we just don't know it. Maybe AI has taken over more than we thought. Ruby does a great job. So blessed to have met her and Mather and gotten in to really, learn a lot about the league and how it works, and just happy that, they're asking me to be a small part of it. So I'm very appreciative of that. With that, let's talk what you guys can see later on today. I got to give Jason, CrossFit Media, 2 p.m. today. You got Jess, you got Fico. You're also gonna have Matt Evans on there representing the Breakers. What? That's gonna be good. If I could be on there, I would, but I'm gonna be in the comments for sure. I'm definitely gonna be in the comments.
Matt may not be as tame as I am.
Hey, let's do it.
He may say some exciting stuff. Everybody should go tune in.
I will say this. I gotta give you guys a shout out. I want to give all the Breakers a shout out. Matt Hornaday, Matt Evans, all the players. We did a pre-match show for the first time, and like it was unbelievable. It was fun. We had a good time. The location, the atmosphere was all great. It was all the things that I really, really, couldn't have pictured or seemed going any better than they did. A shout out to Jen Powers, the owner of the New York Wolves, and her, producer Beth Weber. They were lifesavers. They came in clutch, equipment, cameras. Like I was afraid to be on camera for the first time ever, just because like these are the best resolution cameras I've ever seen, and I was like, this is gonna age me.
It was showing Joshua's forehead sweat.
God, I look 50. I look 55, but like,
wait, you're
especially
not
sitting next to you. Don't worry, if you want to look young, man, I got you covered, man. Just put me next to you all day. You're gonna look great. Like,
So I I say that with all love. Like, I am very appreciative of the opportunity this past weekend, and I hope, you know, nothing more than to continue to do it again.
Yeah.
So if y'all
We
just
hope
let
so
us
too.
know. So it was a lot of fun. But Josh, Shay, we got to wrap up. We got to get out of here. I got to throw this out there on socials. I got to get ready, you know, maybe get a little workout in. Who knows? I might
I
get a little
gotta get to the beach, you know.
I know, tough day for you
I know.
ahead.
And I got to get my stopwatch out. So I got to get.
Well, I appreciate the time, and hey, stay healthy. You guys are 2-0. Got a lot to work for over the next month to get you guys in the playoffs, but you know, things are in a very good position. So if there's anything you guys need from me, let me know. And you know, before you guys bounce, anything you want to plug or promote?
As always, shout out to T Fiber. They have made such a difference for us this year. The opportunities that we've had, and just shout out to our team. You know, our team is just we knew coming in the beginning that we were different, and we have come out and we have executed well. And I think that just makes a statement for us going into the next 2 matches.
Yep.
So.
And in true Kobe fashion, job's not done.
Yeah, job's not done.
Job not done. So got a long ways to go. So
very true. The job's not done, but you know, it'll be closer to being done a month from now, because it'll all be over and the playoff seedings will be set, and we'll be talking about the shoulda, woulda, couldas, and what might happen in the playoffs. But Josh, Shay, enjoy the rest of your vacation. Shay, I know you're not this guy and love putting your feet in the sand. Josh, try to put your feet up. At least relax a little bit, man.
Make me a little mimosa, sit on my beach chair.
There you go. You could be her pool guy. You just go out there and serve her drink and thank her, and you know.
Don't give her any ideas.
Well, I appreciate the time. Y'all have a great rest of your vacation, and we'll
Thank
talk
you.
soon.
All right, man.
Thank you.
You have a great one.
Absolutely. That's Josh and Shay Newell of the Palm Beach Breakers. If you like hearing Josh and Shay's story, or you just like hearing Average Joe's talk X's and O's, please share the podcast on Facebook. Head over to YouTube, click like, subscribe, notifications. That way you're first to know when new content is dropped. I'll be back tomorrow. I got the man himself. I got Fico Gomez coming on. We got a lot to talk about. We had him on months ago, way back in the early days, and now we're bringing him back on. I want to talk to him a little bit about this season, building and constructing this roster with a current roster that was really good, and his additions. But I also want to get into, you know, he's been with the Sharks for a while. Like, is this the best version of the Sharks that he's seen? You know, you heard me ask Sam Martin that same question. You got his answer, but I want to hear it from the owner and the coach himself to see what he thinks. But y'all stick with us. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great day. Until then, as always, remember, strong body, sharp mind, grit and grind all the time. We are out.